On today's episode of Homeworthy, we're taking you to Los Angeles, California to meet designer Natalie Myers, who put her magic touch on renovating this stunning mid-century modern home. Once dark and falling apart, it had not been touched in decades. But Natalie lovingly restored the home into her family's dream house. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Natalie. Welcome to my LA home. My name's Natalie Myers. I'm an interior designer in Los Angeles, but also I work all over the country, mostly remote. I renovate and furnish and remodel homes, mostly for families, just because it's A, what I know, and B, it just gives me a lot of satisfaction and fulfillment, just helping people be like happy in their homes and comfortable and like love their homes. So we're in Ladera Heights, which nobody knows where that is, but it's in LA. It's near Culver City. It's a very sleepy, almost suburban, I would say, neighborhood. There's not a lot of like walkable amenities, but it's very quiet and it's literally in the middle of like everywhere. Like you can get to Beverly Hills, Mar Vista, Venice in 15, 20 minutes. So we love it. We had been looking for a long time in this neighborhood because the houses are much bigger. They were all built like in the 60s. They're just like more substantially constructed and scaled. And a lot of mid-century gems, like a lot of like cool, funky, architectural, like unique features like house to house. Like it's not cookie cutter at all. We were looking for, I would say, years before we were able to buy a house in this neighborhood. And I just had like a very specific requirement. Like we were looking for like a very specific, like just within these 10 blocks, like a specific layout, a specific number of bedrooms. And I also slightly manifested it where I was like, I don't expect there's gonna be a fireplace and post-in beam, but if somehow there was like a post-in beam and a fireplace, like that's my dream house. And so we looked, and the thing is with this neighborhood too, like now it's changing, like a lot more families are moving in, but at the time it was people who had been here for generations and like nobody really was selling their house because they'd been there for so long, unless like they died or was going to a nursing home. So you really had to like wait for somebody to die to get the house, for a house to go on the market. And then as soon as the house went on the market, like 10 different families wanted it. So that was the story with this house. An old lady died in our home, but that's okay. And it was in disrepair. Like it was years and years of deferred maintenance. And like, it was like everything was brown, but in like a dirty, sad gray way and like dusty. And like the tile was cracked and like the roof was leaking and there was asbestos, just like, it was just sad. I would say that like somebody was even living in the house, but she loved the house too. And like, I get it. She was like 92 and she didn't want to leave either. So she just wanted to like stay as it was falling apart around her. And like, she died here peacefully. And then we, by some miracle and like a lot of jumping through hoops, we got the house. Now it's our forever home. Like I can't imagine selling it or leaving like ever. Like I will die here too probably. And then somebody will renovate it and wonder how I lived here the way I did. But yeah, it's just like one of those houses that you just feel like really attached to. This is our foyer entry. It's a living space of its own. We brought in a rug, the bench, this really heavy terrazzo bench came with the house. I brought in an early American dresser to kind of hold all of our knickknacks and junk before we go for the day. So I like that this isn't an in-between space. It's like an actual living space where we do spend good time. And that brings you into our living room. One thing we loved about the house is when you first open the front door, you get a straight view to the back. So it's a really nice way to have like the indoors and the outdoors connect and just feel like one big space. There's a sunken living room that a lot of people trip on, but you won't. And once you get into the sunken living room, we have this conversational pit happening. I've played around with a lot of different sofa arrangements, like 2 sofas facing this way, 2 sofas facing that way, multiple accent chairs. But right now I think this is the right layout. And I do like that it's in the center of the room so that you could still walk around and, enjoy the view, enjoy the fireplace, enjoy the open bookshelves. The open bookshelves are a little bit of like a treasure trove for me. There was a house for sale in our neighborhood as we were doing renovation work, and I popped in and I talked to the seller, and somehow I convinced them to sell me their Caddo unit that's like original from the 60s, dismantled it, brought it over here. So to me, this is like an architectural feature that's like part of the house, but it's also a connection to like the neighborhood and the history of the neighborhood. And even though I don't have a lot of like stuff and like tchotchkes out, this is the one spot where I kind of just go crazy, where I collect and showcase and curate all my ceramics and like vintage decorating books and crafty things that my kids made for me, and photographs and art that I find at like estate sales and flea markets and thrift stores. And I kind of play around with styling these things constantly. There's a very tight color story with like the browns and the creams and the tans shown here that ends up like being pulled and reflected throughout the rest of the house. My daughter is an amazing artist, so I think it's really important for her to like see and be around art. So this painting I got from an estate sale of an artist where I just kind of like grabbed as much as I could. These shells are from a trip we just took to the Santa Barbara coast, where we collected shells on the coast. All of these little ceramics are really just, most of them are ones I've picked up at thrift stores and estate sales. I love studio pottery, and the way you can tell studio pottery is if you look on the bottom, you could see a signature. So I've kind of trained my kids to like look for studio pottery signatures everywhere we go, every time we pop into a thrift store, and they're pretty good at scouting it for me too. So I have all my beloved studio pottery from the 70s and 80s, but I also have ceramicist friends. So I showcase a lot of their work too. So this is my friend Sharon, who has Feel Ceramics, and this is my friend Janet. This is a lot of her work. So yeah, I just like to showcase art and ceramics and vintage decorating books, which are always a great inspiration. Just to like always have this here as like a spot where inspiration flows, hopefully. Oh, this desk, I guess I should mention, is I love furniture design too. So I actually designed this with a woodworker that I work with a lot. His name is Mike, and his company's called Saltwater. And we've been collaborating for a few years now, just kind of thinking up of like custom, interesting, new furniture pieces. So this is a desk that we worked on together, and there's a few more pieces throughout the house that I'll show you. But yeah, it's kind of nice to be able to design furniture along with interiors, because I think design is design, whether it's like a house as an architect or the interiors as an interior designer, or furniture, or a whole town square as like an urban planner. It's just different scales of design. So I do like kind of getting a taste of other scales of design with furniture. So through my line of work, I end up meeting a lot of makers and artists, and I end up with a lot of their stuff in my own house just because I love it and I want to support it. So this fiber art piece is by Alyssa Alexander, and she makes these awesome tactile large scale pieces that I've commissioned, and you can do it with like, the color story that you want. Also, this painting, was my mom's. She used to be a ballet dancer, and I remember I always would look at it at her bedside when I was little, and I always thought it was like this really precious little watercolor. And she gave it to my daughter as a gift, but then I stole it and brought it into the entry because it means a lot to me. So the fireplace is one of my absolute favorite features about the house. And when we were in escrow, the agents were like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do to it? Like, how are you going to like renovate it? I'm like, I'm not, like, I love it. It's amazing. I think these were really common in LA for a while, but I think people thought they were outdated and painted over the rocks or like demoed the rocks and tiled, and just whatever they did is not as good as these original lava rocks. So I definitely kept them. They weren't going anywhere. But what I did was, just because they were very heavy and kind of dark feeling, I ended up hiring somebody to overgrout it, which means like they put in this white, it's called like schmear, to just give it like, make it look cleaner, make it look brighter, make it not feel as heavy. And in regards to this kind of being like a lab for me, I do want to save these fireplaces on other houses that I work on when I do see them, and to try to convince my clients that they're worth saving. So I kind of like do what I think would make it look good on my own house first, like the overgrouting, and then once I have photos, I can convince my clients, like, no, we'll use your fireplace, we'll save it. This is how we can make it look better. And I've ended up saving 2 more fireplaces of my clients because I was able to show them how great it looks. And a very cool feature of this fireplace is that it's double-sided. So if you turn the corner by moving the plants, it continues into the kitchen. And what I think is really funny, we don't use this, but back in the day, this was like a home meat grilling station that, again, now it's just like a little vignette for me, but it was like a home meat grilling station and a double-sided fireplace, which is just super sweet. This was a desk that we turned into a home bar because it just felt like a better use of the space. And then these were open shelves that we ended up creating tall cabinets because I'd rather stow things away than show off the tchotchke. I mean, it's like a very mid-century house. Like, it has a lot of the features that were just like typical of the mid-century, like the 60s. I think it was built in 1962. It just has like very angular, a lot of like, not a lot of like fussy details, like a lot of just like clean lines, like minimal materials, just a lot of like modernist aesthetic. So that was like the bones of the house. And for me, this is kind of like, my style in general is just very clean and like unfussy and uncluttered. Like, I don't like buying things just for the sake of buying things, or like adding decor just for the sake of like having it be there. Like, everything is very edited and like thoughtful. So I just kind of brought that aesthetic into the house. But I think since we've moved into this house, it's kind of been my like lab a little bit for developing my personal style, which I call Scandinavian style, which is kind of like a mix of like minimalist, like Scandinavian aesthetic, but also like warmer, earthier, like a lot of like neutrals and natural materials and just like beiges and creams and browns that I find comforting because as a designer, for my clients, like whatever the colors they love, like we embrace it. Like if they love greens, if they love blues, like if they love fuchsia, like I'll make it happen in their space. But I think I just get like overwhelmed with like colors and textures and just like concepts that for my home, I just like everything to be like quieter and more serene. So I've just kind of been like layering and playing with that idea of like bringing in modernist mid-century shapes or lines or like concepts, but softening it with like warmer, neutral, like natural materials, and developing this style of mine that then I sell to others. So then our kitchen is, like, for me, the heart of my home and like where we spend all of our time. When we first bought the house, it was actually enclosed. Like there was a wall, just enclosing the whole kitchen with a little pass-through window. And it was really dark and really sad. And I don't think many people wanted to spend time in here, but I don't know why, because there's like these amazing windows, like incredible. I don't know why they hid it, because I think this is kind of like the best feature in the house. So we took down the walls, reconfigured it so it became like a U-shaped kitchen with a big island. I always wanted an island, and now I have an island that we could all sit at for like more informal meals. And it's not a huge kitchen, but we're also not big chefs. So for me, it's just like a very sweet, it's a contemporary kitchen, but I do think it melds well with like the mid-century architecture of the house. And it's bright and it's warm, and the pink hues I think are very inviting and just make food look good and makes me look good. So I like spending time in the kitchen. This backsplash is somewhat of an optical illusion. I fell in love with these tiles from Zia Tiles. They're cement tiles, they're 4-inch cement tiles, and it's one shape, but you can arrange it to be O's or X's or undulate out or undulate in. So this was a really fun little creative corner. I was very surprised that my husband was cool with the pink, but he was cool with it. He was on board. So we had fun with the backsplash tile. This is like the one open shelf I have in the kitchen. It's like the one spot I could find for open shelving, where I have more ceramics, big surprise, but like more cups, like teacups and wine glasses and just coffee and tea accoutrements. The countertop is marble. It is porous. It does patina, but I'm 100% okay with that. I like that the kitchen kind of takes on a life and shows like the history of the family that lived here. I didn't want upper cabinets, just because again, it feels like enclosing. I wanted everything to be open. So I wanted to save a big wall, just a big blank wall for art. And the art that is displayed here has changed over the years, and I'm sure this piece will be updated at some point. But I wanted there to be art in the kitchen. You'll see later, there's art in my bathroom. I think it's just important to incorporate like art in your everyday living spaces, not just like museum worthy, like dusty corners of your house. So by design, I didn't do upper cabinets just so that more of this window could be featured. And we just have almost everything in the pantry, just like stored away. Again, I'm not a shower, I'm a stower. So I like things to be like open and bright and clean, and then just kind of like squirrel everything away in cabinets behind closed doors. So the kitchen is a good example of the style of mine that I'm developing, where you have a lot of like modern, minimal, clean aesthetic, but it doesn't feel stark. It feels warm and inviting. And part of that is like, it's very linear, but there's articulation. So over time, I ended up not renovating the kitchen again, but just refreshing it, I'll call it, by creating these wood side panels to my island that had the slats, the wood slats, to give it some dimensionality. And I added the natural stone countertop with the pink and purpley veining to work off of the tile. And I also added the grooved cabinet fronts in an off-white. So all of these elements together, they definitely speak to the mid-century architecture, but they just feel more warm and more contemporary, but very clean at the same time. So that's kind of like the direction that I'm trying to take this style that I'm developing. Yeah, and just in general in my design philosophy, I love to combine different time periods, like a plaster lamp from the 80s and like a modern wood desk and like a vintage Turkish rug, and just kind of see where the design elements overlap from different times. So somehow they all look great together, because good design is good design. It's just like an interesting way to combine elements of a house so that it feels really unique and a reflection of you. And that's kind of what I try to do for all of my clients, like bring in different time periods and different styles and different elements, but they all kind of speak the same language in a way, or like have the same vocabulary. it's just like it's just how I like to design in my own home, is where I try it out, as we mentioned. The thing that I love most about this house is that I dreamed of it, I manifested it, and like it became our reality. And it just feels like the minute I walked in, I was like, this is my house. And I just feel so connected to it as like my family home. So right next to the kitchen is, I'm gonna call it the family room. It's kind of where we spent all of our time. And when we were looking for houses, I mean, this is really all I needed. I just needed the kitchen and the family room and the dining room. I didn't need the formal living room. That was just kind of like a bonus pretty space for me. But this is the space where we like gather every night to watch Netflix, cuddle on the couch with the dog. This couch is like the most comfortable, mushiest, amazing couch ever. It's from Sunday's Furniture. I've tried like 3 or 4 different couches in this space, and this is the first one that like fit perfectly, felt comfortable, was like the right scale. I look forward to like cuddling on this couch with my family every night. This also became like our main work area. So both my husband and I office from this one room. We have our backs to each other and we just kind of like ignore each other all day. But this is where I work from, where he works from. Now he's gone more and more back to his office. But this one room is really where like our family spends a lot of time, and it's comfortable and it's zoned correctly, and it might be my favorite room just because so much good stuff happens here. A lot of good things, like projects get designed, cuddles happen. We watch great movies and shows. It's a good space. Okay, so this corner is a very pretty corner. We have a few pieces, like a painting from an estate sale from one artist, a print from a different artist. This photo print, it's like on film. It's from Midnight Station, and it's of Yosemite, and we took a trip to Yosemite last summer, so it had meaning for me. And then this painting my daughter did after a trip to France that we took our kids on. She painted Café du Monde for us, and that showed me that she actually enjoyed our trip and it had meaning for her. So this corner, I think, is like a nice embodiment of a lot of our memories and trips we've taken, and kind of like adds to the coziness of the family room. This is another one of our collaborative furniture designs in the shape of a round coffee table that we live with daily in our family room, and it's a great piece that I'm proud of. A lot of my friends and family make fun of me, but things come and go, like, you know, after you do the main renovation. But even after I do the main renovation, like, depending on your budget, you do the things that you always wanted to do. You just can't do them all at once. So over years, you just kind of plan for like more improvements and like upgrades, and like you keep like upgrading the lighting, or you add window coverings, or you get like a better rug. So like things come and go constantly, but every iteration, I think it's like slightly a little better. It always has the same vibe, but it's always like, you know, evolving just like a little incrementally better. So that's what I mean by like pouring love into it, just getting like better art, better furniture. Not that what you had was bad, but just kind of like constantly growing and like refining, I would say. Right off the kitchen, we have our pantry, which you're not gonna see because I stow everything away in there, and a guest bathroom that we recently renovated. It's tiny, and typically in my design aesthetic, like everything's pretty quiet and constrained and edited, but the exception is for small spaces. I think it's kind of fun to like go a little wacky and just try like a lot of patterns and a lot of ideas in one space. I think it just makes it more interesting and like not as flat. So in this one tiny bathroom, we have the stone, we have wallpaper, we have 4 different tiles, but I don't think it's too crazy. I think they all kind of work really nicely off each other and balance really well. But it's a little wacky, and that's okay. I think for small spaces, it's fine to do that, and especially spaces where like your guests are gonna come in and just have a little bit of a like a little bit of like a wondrous moment. Hopefully they remember your house with like the fun bathroom. So this is our formal dining room, and I promise you we do eat dinner here every night. I think it's really important to sit together as a family, and I make my kids sit together as a family with us, even if they want to be on their screens. I force them here every night. A table I designed with Mike from Saltwater. We sit at it every night, and I think there's like really like, it's like beautiful and warm and nice to be able to like sit at a solid oak table that I designed for my family. I just want to make this room really pretty and nice with lots of layers. So there's art books, and there's original art, and there's an old antique cabinet, like a French antique from like a million years ago, and layered rugs. But I also think it feels pretty casual. Like I don't think it feels too fussy or formal, even though it's like a more formal dining room. I think it's just like a comfortable, layered, nice space to have dinner every night. So that's where I'm gonna go with that. Oh, the other thing I could tell you is that the shiplap we had to do because there was like wallpaper on this wall that like our builder just couldn't get off. Like he couldn't get it off the wall because it had been like applied with like an oil-based glue. So we just like couldn't remove it. And I ended up saying like, okay, well, what if we just like added paneling to the walls, which to me has like a mid-century feel to it, because there was like a fence around the property that had a similar style. So it didn't seem like that off-brand to do this paneling. And then I got really into green building recently. So lime washing is actually so beneficial for your health and for your breathing and for just like the air quality and the cleanliness of the home. And I kind of wanted to see if I could do it myself and just see how hard or easy it was. And it was really easy. So I ended up lime washing the dining room as like a nice, very subtle layered contrast to the paneling. Lime washing, it's like centuries and centuries old technique of just like actual lime. You water it down. It's almost like a watercolor in a sense, and you add it to the walls in layers, and it creates kind of like a variated, almost like a fresco-ish feel. It's very matte and like velvety, but it actually cleans the air. Like it actually like takes away impurities from the air, and it smells really good when you first put it on. It smells like chalky and milky at the same time. It's just like a very natural paint solution that I wanted to try out, and I did, and now I'm a big fan. Come down the hall with me. These are my kids' bedrooms. They're too messy for me to show you, but you can just see my daughter is the artist, and she has to have all of her little drawings for display for the world. There's a lot more happening inside of the artist studio. My son's bedroom too. And I like that all the bedrooms are together. That was kind of a big selling point of the house, that like down the hall, we could all sleep near each other, whether or not my kids like that these days, that's fine. This is our master bedroom. We had the same issue here with the wallpaper, as I mentioned, in the dining room, where we just couldn't get it off because of the oily glue that they had used. So we did the same paneling on the bedroom as an accent wall. And I also did the lime wash in here because I liked it so much and I wanted to live with it all the time. I mean, it's a pretty simple bedroom. You see like the mix of the different furniture styles in here as well. I have like a French antique cabinet. I have a mid-century cabinet. I have side tables that I designed with Mike from Saltwater. The big art piece above my bed is, I had just seen these tonal color studies and I really wanted one, but they sell out really quickly, like all the different artists that I follow that make these. And I was like, you know what, I could just do it myself. And I did, and I love it, and I'm gonna make more. The bed is also from Sunday's Company, which is the company that our sofa in the family room is from, because once I decide I like something and it's good quality, I go all in. Oh, the chair is mine too. That's another piece I designed with Mike. The drapery is custom from the shade store to turn the corner, which is like a very hard thing to find, and they were able to do it for us. Something that we added to the house was, strangely, when we moved in, there was a sliding door, but it was like locked permanently so that it was kind of static panels of glass, and it just kind of like hung 3 feet off the wall to the grass below. And we couldn't figure out why it was like that. And we just assumed that at some point they had planned to build a deck and they never did. So we built the deck that I think was the architect's original intent. So we can come outside and we could see our west-facing ocean view on a good day. Right now it's a little cloudy, so you can't see much, but we added the deck. And if you come back inside, I'm going to take you, oh, you know what? The closet, I personally have never found closet doors that like work well and aren't a huge impediment. So for our closet, I mean, I don't do this for clients, but for our closet, I was like, you know what? We don't even need closet doors. No closet doors. Instead, we just have like a really nice closet system. It's actually from the Container Store. They have like a nice higher end closet, custom closet system. And we spent enough on the closet system that I was like, we don't need doors. We could just look at our pretty closet and just keep it very organized all the time and very minimal. If you come into our main bathroom, it's huge. I know it's huge. We don't need a bathroom this big. When we first moved in, the tub was here and the vanity was here, but there was a wall separating them. And then here was the toilet, the shower was here, and this was a walk-in closet. And as you can see, I don't have a ton of clothes. Like I don't need a lot of clothes. So instead of a walk-in closet, we made a walk-in shower. And we kind of like opened up all of like the little mini compartments into one bigger room. And then when our builder framed it out, I was like, oh, wow, it's a really big bathroom. It's probably too big, but it's a living space for us. It kind of gets the best light in the whole house, which is kind of tragic. I wish that the bathroom wasn't the room that got the best light. But because it gets the best light, I'm all about bringing in like rugs and art and plants and just making it feel more of like another living space, like an actual room, not just like a place you go to do the bathroom stuff, you know? When I was younger, we moved around a lot. We were in a lot of rentals and it just wasn't permanent. So I just knew like for my family and for my kids, I just wanted like one house that they grew up in like a community of like friends and neighbors. Like they would always go to the same school. They would always have the same classmates. They'd always have like a home base to just feel comfortable and themselves in. So for me, home is like permanence. And I think like the more love and investment you put in your home, like the less you're likely to like move on to something else, like a bigger, better show. Like this is your home. And I feel like it's not the biggest house, but it's just like for us, it's the perfect size. And we just keep like putting more love into it. And we're never leaving, ever.
Thanks for watching. For more Homeworthy content, be sure to like and subscribe.